enabled. WAZIRX and CNBCTV18 present Crypto, Digital Assets of the Future.
Hello and welcome to this special series. WAZIRX and CNBCTV18 present Crypto, Digital Assets of the Future. We are putting full focus to the Indian crypto markets in this episode on current day opportunities and challenges. To the opportunities first, and the latest report suggests that the government may form a fresh panel of experts of study possibility of regulating cryptocurrency in India. New committee could explore the use of blockchain for technology enhancement and suggest ways to regulate crypto as digital assets instead of a currency. The Finance Ministry is supposedly monitoring the growing volumes of cryptocurrency trading in India and is talking to stakeholders on potential supervisory risks. The Finance Ministry officials have in recent months said publicly that the government will take calibrated approach in regulating cryptocurrency rather than an impose on outright ban. To discuss this and more, I'm now joined by Nischal Shetty, founder and CEO, WAZIRX. Nischal, hi, welcome to the show. I'm sure there is cheer on the India crypto street with the latest reports on how government is looking at perhaps regulating the cryptocurrency in the market. How have you read these reports and what are you making of it?
Yeah, I think this is definitely a very positive news for the entire Indian crypto sector. And there are quite a few things that this report details out, which I think is very important. And it also shows the positive direction and that our government is taking towards this new innovative technology. I think the first most important thing is about how they intend to classify crypto, and which is something very, very important before you can build regulations. And the report says that cryptos are going to be classified as digital assets and not a currency. And this is in line with what we as an industry have been pushing for. Because if you look at the nature of maximum crypto that's out there, and most of them are being held by people as an asset class rather than a currency. Similarly, I think the other important factor that's detailed in the report is how the older 2019 report seems to be seen as an outdated report. And I think it is in sync with the whole technological advancements and the regulatory developments that have happened globally, where this report might come off as something which was built probably a long time ago. At least in the crypto world, 2 years is a long time because things change here every few months. And I think the third is the whole fact that there might be like Mr. Anurag Thakur, for example, he might be part of this committee that is being formed. I think this is going to be a very strong committee that will be formed. And we've also heard about industry engagement being one of the core ideas behind this committee. And we're, as an industry, we're in fact looking forward to this, where we have quite a few points and quite a few data points that we can provide to our government to help regulate. Because as an industry, we've been working on the ground. We have a lot of, I would say, on-the-ground knowledge that we can bring on the table. So net, very positive. And as an industry, we're all looking forward to it. In fact, I tweeted about this, and the response has been crazy from all the users who are into crypto. So I think everyone's cheering right now.
Oh, well, absolutely. As we're calling it now, the India crypto street. Well, yes, the narrative really seems to be changing, Nischal. So when the government says that they are going to be in touch with the stakeholders here, you guys have been putting out various representations, suggestions, feedback on the Indian markets here. What is the latest that you gather in the markets as of now?
The most important thing is there have been a few developments in terms of us as an industry where we've been able to help with the regulatory process. One is there was a release of 2 white papers by India Tech, which is a non-profit that supports startups in India. And I think that's a very important white paper because it details out in simple languages on a few key factors to consider before regulating. And I think if the government can look into this white paper, it'll be really helpful. Apart from that, I think as an industry, we've definitely been following our own code of conduct. And the next step for us in that is to get a third-party audit done. Because while the code of conduct is sort of a self-regulation, we think that there's more legitimacy if we involve a third party to audit this. So the entire industry is working towards that as well right now.
Nischal, the other thing that the report also suggests is about the growing volumes that we've seen in the Indian markets. I mean, if you could articulate that for us in numbers on what kind of volume growth have we seen? Last year clearly was a record year in that sense. But even then, if you look at month-on-month, quarter-on-quarter basis, what kind of volume gains have been seen and what kind of participation increase has there been?
Sure. I think if you just consider from December 2020 until this month, there's been a 10 times increase in the trading volume in India. And to put that into perspective, I think today, in December, it was probably around $1 billion being traded on a monthly basis. And as on today, we are seeing a 30-day average, industry average that I'm talking about $10 billion. So that's a huge jump in the amount of trades that are happening. Now, this is combined with the number of people getting into the whole crypto ecosystem. We've seen a drastic increase in the number of new signups. For example, for WAZIRX, it took us 3 years to reach 2 million customers. And in April alone, we signed up 1 million. So 50% of our customers that we had acquired in the last 3 years, we've gained equivalent amount in just 1 month. So that's the drastic rise. And I'm sure overall as an industry also, that's the direction. Now, today, overall, I think there are over 15 million people in India who are holding some form of digital assets. And the value is about more than 15,000 crores.
Nischal, earlier it was all about bitcoins, but we've seen the money rotate or being allocated in altcoins as well. So something like a Dogecoin, where there's a lot of frenzy, not just in India, overall globally, and the kind of returns it has given some of these cryptocurrencies clearly seems to be attracting a lot of investors here. So what is your sense on this? Is there enough awareness? Is there enough research that people are putting in a Dogecoin or a Shiba Inu when people buy that?
There are various factors why people decide to buy cryptocurrencies. Bitcoin, for example, is usually the digital asset of choice for people who get into crypto for the first time. It's like the most known and the most trusted. Once they're into the whole crypto ecosystem, they tend to understand and explore other cryptos that exist. And surprisingly, I think the reason why Dogecoin, for example, is getting so popular is because a lot of celebrities, including Elon Musk, for example, they've been talking about it. So this spreads awareness, and then people get curious, and curiosity leads to people researching and understanding. And also, not to forget the volatility in, let's say, newer crypto assets compared to Bitcoin, because Bitcoin is getting stable by the year. The kind of volatility you see in Bitcoin today is far lesser than what you saw maybe 3 years ago. So people are in search for newer assets that might be far more volatile, so that it's easier and better to trade in. And that's where I think Doge is coming in. But let's also not forget that one of the other things that Doge has been able to break through is the entire influencer market, not just in India, but globally, where a lot of influencers seem to be taking a liking towards Dogecoin. And a bit of a history about Doge. It started as definitely as a more of a joke, because the creator wanted to show how easy it is to create digital assets. And I think that's a good thing, because it's easy to create websites as well. The progression for Doge was used as a tipping token. So people used to give away Doge for free. What that led to was a lot of people owning Dogecoins. And eventually today, the value has increased so much that no one's giving it free anymore or tipping it. But I think it's been a great progression for people to learn how you go from a new asset class being invented to greater adoption to finally bringing in a value where it becomes valuable for people to hold on to. So Doge is a perfect example of all that happening in the last 3 to 4 years for it.
But Nischal, how relevant is that when you have celebs and influencers pushing in tokens where they do not really, I mean, neither were they in the development phase or the owning phase?
I think I see this more as an initiation for a lot of people for whom Bitcoin might be a far more stable asset class, and they want probably the risk profiles, I think, is where we need to look at. If someone wants to have a greater risk in a newer asset class, and Bitcoin seems to be more stable for them, and they believe that Doge might become that internet currency or an internet asset that everyone adopts in the future, maybe that's one of the reasons. And if you see, there are some similarities between Doge and Bitcoin, where the founder is almost non-existent, and it's a community-driven initiative. So the fact that people are not involved in the development but are getting into it is actually a way of looking at how community is driving this instead of a particular company or a founder driving it. So I think net it's a good thing. How it will evolve and how it will unfold, only time will tell.
Well, I'm sure there are pros and cons to that, Nischal, but let's take a break on that note. When we come back, we'll talk about specific India, some of the banking challenges that the country is facing, and also there are a lot of education and awareness that still is needed in case of Indian participants. We'll talk about all of that as well.
WAZIRX and CNBCTV18 present Crypto, Digital Assets of the Future. WAZIRX and CNBCTV18 present Crypto, Digital Assets of the Future.
Welcome back, and I am still with Nischal Shetty, founder and CEO of WAZIRX. Nischal, in the Indian markets as well, we have seen some concerns here. There have been some banking issues. We've seen some banks not give or not, entertain trading in many of these cryptocurrencies, and there have been delays via the exchange because of that in sense of pains and payouts. What is the current condition now?
Sure. I think a bit of a background, Manisha. In 2020, March 2020, the Supreme Court set aside the circular that the RBI had, where it barred banks from trading or in getting involved in crypto. So technically, there's nothing that stops banks. But what we've seen in recent times that a few banks are still concerned, and a few banks are still citing that old circular. So there seems to be a confusion in the banking industry on whether they can service the crypto industry or not. And what we are doing is trying to talk to these banks, giving them enough data, telling them how we perform KYCs and how do we ensure that the right users are using it, no cash transactions in the system. And I think all of this will lead to something, but definitely right now, because of this confusion, there seems to be delays. And we're also, as an industry, we're facing problems with getting the right banking channels, which has again slowed down the whole process of depositing and withdrawal of INR for the customers. Now, I think maybe in the next, especially because of the news that has come up about India regulating and not going in the direction of the ban, I think I've already, in fact, started getting emails from quite a few banks which are asking me more details about this new development. So I'm seeing a lot of positive sentiments now. We'll need some weeks, I think, as an industry to set the right expectations and the right direction for bankers on how they can be involved in this industry.
But Nischal, as we stand today, and while we do understand that some bankers have withdrawn from this and the concerns are higher now more than ever, because as you said, the volumes have been higher, the participation is going on. So banks in some sense also seem to be, ring fencing this right now. So do you, as a cryptocurrency exchange or a community or an industry, have enough banks in line to service all of these participants?
So there's no straight answer to this. We do have banks, but the problem is that not all banks in India provide the right set of APIs that startups in India require. So there are a set of banks which have really good APIs that all the startups in India can use. Unfortunately, the crypto startups are not getting access to this, which is actually one of the biggest reasons why there are delays. The problem with these delays is it directly affects the 15 million people who are into crypto in India. So we are trying to reason with the banks, and we're also telling them on why it is important to have these APIs, because while deposits is one thing, these APIs also enable all of the startups in India to verify and ensure that the source of funds is coming from the right accounts. Okay. In the absence of these APIs, the startups cannot ensure that you are making the transfer from your bank account or not. So I think it's very important that these banks also understand that it's not just about deposits, but also ensuring we have a clean ecosystem.
So Nischal, I was reading some of these tweets, and there are those grievances as well, and I want to come to that too. But there have been these tweets saying that the money has been debited from their account, hasn't been credited into WAZIRX's account. So where is the money really?
It's actually in between with the banks, and the problem here is there is always a settlement period, and it takes anywhere from 1 day to 7 to 10 days for the banks to reconcile these missed deposits. And this is one of the reasons why there are delays in the sector. And why are these happening at a larger scale is because all of a sudden a bank decides that they don't want to service and they stop their services, but the users are still depositing. So these deposits don't get credited to the exchanges and they get stuck at the bank level. Now, what we are doing as an industry is we are trying to ensure that the banks can get this refunded, but it's going to take at least 7 to 10 days for these refunds to process.
So, Nischal, what would you say if there was a concern, if there was a grievance, and if a participant or a investor wanted to reach out to you, talk to you? What is the best way of doing that?
We the best way is we have a very formal and properly managed support system where you can raise a support ticket. So that's what maximum of our users doing. We've also started providing support on our social channels, including Twitter, so people can do that. The third thing, what WAZIRX is bringing forward is voice support. This is in fact one of the most requested support methods that our customers have asked. So we are in fact testing it right now. We're doing about 500 calls a day. Seems to be good and great results. We will scale this to thousands of calls a day very soon.
Nischal, also, Shiba Inu was the first, you were the first exchange to launch it, but there has been a bit of a controversy around that as well. What went wrong and how are you sorting it?
I would say, Manisha, the fact that WAZIRX is growing really rapidly, whenever we listed a new token on our exchange, we always saw a very high demand. And we've always ensured that there's enough liquidity being provided for this demand that comes in at the time of listing. And it's something that you traditionally see in all of the exchanges globally. Whenever you list a new token, there's a very high demand in the very short period of time. Now with the SHIB token, we did not anticipate the demand would be so high that the liquidity that was available at that point in time, which means the number of sellers who were selling, the buyers far outnumbered the sellers. Because of this, there was a short period, I think about an hour or two, before which new sellers came in, where the prices shot up. And to ensure that the users who had trouble during that time, in fact, we have announced an airdrop program to help these kind of people who are caught up in that in-between phase where they ended up buying at a far higher price. And we've also started putting in measures in place. For example, now, before we used to start our withdrawals and deposits of tokens at the time of listing. Now what we've done is we've ensured that we enable the deposits of new tokens at least an hour before listing, so that enough tokens can enter the exchange. And at the time of listing, there are enough supply for buyers to buy. So this is more of a learning experience for us, looking at the rapid pace at which we are growing. These are some of the things that we're learning as the exchange grows.
So, Nischal, I also saw a tweet from you where you said that there could be some refunds that you would be putting out for some of the investors. Has that process begun? Have you started identifying, and how are you reaching out to many of these participants?
So we put out a detailed blog post about the same, where we've identified and we've ensured that people understand if they're eligible for the compensation or the help that we are providing. The next few days, we'll be identifying all the people who were affected by this, immediate crunch in liquidity, and we'll enable the whole airdrop program for them so that they can recover the affected losses during that period in time. I think the next few days we'll enable these things.
Nischal, the way the Indian markets look right now, I mean, the investors seem ready. They understand the market quite well. They know all the latest tokens and the price movements in the international markets. I mean, we're still awaiting the clarity on regulations here. But how have you seen the response? I mean, as you said, the latest tokens saw such frenzy that the exchange for some time didn't know how to handle that.
Honestly, it's this sort of response has caught all of us by surprise. The number of people who are signing up, I think we sign up more people in a day than we used to sign up in an entire month or 2 months about 6 months ago. So the kind of we need to understand that in financial products, it's not just as easy as you just sign up and start using. There's an entire KYC process to be followed. So this is something that we are all building up and increasing our infrastructure. But I think net, the other important thing to understand is a lot of these people who are entering are well informed about what tokens they want. Previously, we used to see that people used to sign up, create an account, and then wait for some time to understand the market. Now it seems like people already know which tokens they want to purchase. They're now just signing up to enable that purchase happening. So their learning is happening outside the platform first, and then they enter and sign up and register.
Nischal, also talk to us about the price difference that we have right now on the Indian exchanges and the global markets. I mean, there's no one reference point to begin with when you talk about a Bitcoin. It's traded on various exchanges and the prices also are different. So when we talk about India, are we in a premium, on a discount, and is that across tokens?
So in India, we've been in a premium from the last 3 to 4 years. And this premium fluctuates at times, but it's usually in the 3 to 5% range. What that means is whatever is the global rate of Bitcoin, you get it at a 3 to 5% higher price in India. The reason is because, again, the whole demand and supply, the amount of people who want to buy crypto in India versus the supply of crypto, there's a small difference which causes this 3 to 5% premium. But that's what we've seen to be a stable premium. It's not going above it. At times, it might come a little lower when, let's take, for example, if there's some negative news, we've seen this premium go down. In fact, in February this year, we saw a discount of 3 to 5%. So it's gone from a premium of 5% to a discount of 5% in February when there was some negative news. But in general, it's a 3 to 5% premium range. That's always maintained in the country.
Nischal, I have one final question for you, and this one is on the energy consumption conversation that has been going around, and that has led to a lot of volatility in various cryptocurrencies. How ready are we as an investor to look at this volatility, one, and where do you see many of these prices going forward?
There's always, for technology, there's always an inflection point. And the numbers, if you see, the high number of people signing up in a short period of time, it seems to show that the crypto sector is probably at that inflection point of mass adoption, where you'll see a hockey stick curve on the graphs in terms of user signups. And if that is true, we're probably heading towards a mass adoption globally of crypto assets. Right now, I think around the world, there are about 150 million people who own crypto assets. Surprisingly, 10% of that is in India, 15 million. And there is a possibility this number might shoot up to 1 billion people owning digital assets globally in the next 2 to 3 years if this kind of growth sustains itself. So I think net-net, it's a very positive move for the entire sector because Bitcoin, for example, that's a digital asset which is limited in number, 21 million Bitcoin only. So as the number of people who want to buy Bitcoin increases, the price naturally will see an upward movement. But again, I think it has to sustain. And 3 to 6 months are going to be the deciding factors. The first half of this year has been positive, but the next 6 months is going to decide if this the sign-up will sustain globally or not. And energy, like you said, is definitely playing a part here. But I would like to add a very important understanding of the energy usage of this sector is that the crypto industry uses about 38 to 40% renewable energy, which is far higher than the global usage of about 28% renewable in the global energy usage. So technically, the ecosystem is going towards clean energy faster than the rest of the world.
All right, those are important numbers and lots to look forward to, as you said, Nischal. And a very important point that you put across was that out of 150 million cryptocurrency holders in the world, 10% of that is in India. So this is a market that really seems to be growing very, very fast. Nischal Shetty, thank you so much for joining us today on the show. Thank you so much for watching.
WAZIRX and CNBCTV18 present Crypto, Digital Assets of the Future. Focus, ideate, innovate, enable.